Hey, now we're live. Jeez, oh man. This is Dominic D'Angelo. It's Rumor and Innuendo. It's a Wednesday. We got a lot to talk about. A big Dynamite tonight. The Dynamite. Let me just say it might be the Dynamite. Literally. So we got Robert Karpelis here with us, WE Creative _ish. And thank you, Robert, for letting me know that we weren't live.
Yeah, I'm watching the countdown tick down. I'm going. We're not live, pal. So if you missed the countdown today, fear not. We're still here. We're live. I think we're on the air.
We are.
I'm not sure. I'm here. Dom's here.
We're all here, guys. We got a good crew here already.
What we got?
We got Alt Jake in here. Time for some talk about the upcoming The Dynamite. You nailed it, brother. You nailed it. We got some good conversation today. I'm going to go off the beaten path a little bit with potentially a segment that I put on the rundown. We will see here. That's it. Dre Owen says, Dom was thinking of Liv. Forgot to go live. Oh, man. Now, yes, we are live now, Lou. Thank you. But, Robert, let's discuss. It's a big Dynamite tonight. Probably from a lot of different perspectives. It's the Owen Hart Cup Finals. It's taking place in Calgary, and they have quite the lineup set for us this evening. And let's get your first off. Did you ever get to catch up on what happened last week at Beach Break?
No.
Okay. Well,
I'm enough where I can parse through what's going on here. So I think we'll be good. The first Dynamite I've missed in 4 years. It's not the most unpredictable show on the planet.
No, it really isn't. And
I think we'll be okay.
Let me say, too, it was pretty predictable. I mean, aside from what I did.
Take the lid off. Take the lid off the bottle. There we go. I'm watching Don for the last 5 minutes futzing with this Prime bottle. It's the kind of competition you only see on AEW, where they're just dragging it out. Like you were like 6 super kicks into getting that lid off.
I know, right? Now it's just like, it was slippery. I felt it was frozen. I don't know.
It was the clicking noise. It was like it was great. But hey, it's great to be here. So let's talk. What's on tap for Dynamite tonight?
Yes, we have Swerve Strickland returns. Owen Hart Cup Foundation Tournament Final.
Oh, hold on. You say Swerve Strickland returns. Was he off last week?
That's I think. I honestly don't remember because it was a pretty forgettable Beach Break, I would say, in regards to, but besides like some of the developments that happened with Jeff and Hangman and other things. But yeah, I don't think he was there. So I guess he returns after a week away. Why is that a thing?
I'm just happy they remember they have a world champion.
That's
that was the whole thing with Ospreay. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but Ospreay, I know his heart was in the right place in terms of what he was trying to say, but it did come across a little gauche. I wanted to wrestle Swerve and I wanted to lose because I wanted to make it not seem like he was a transitional champion.
Right.
You don't come out and say the thing.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. If it was a report, that's one thing, and that's like, oh, that'd be pretty cool of Ospreay to do, looking out, being a team player, and all that kind of thing. But if you're talking about it, it's a little bit of a different story. Where it's just like
it's a little much, and because it doesn't really strengthen anything. It's like we're just highlighting how not over the Swerve title reign has been. It's kind of like Rollins did the same thing at Money in the Bank. He had a competitive match. He lost to Priest. Obviously, there were shenanigans and things that happened. But at the end of the day, in the record book that Tony Khan values so much, it would have shown Damian Priest retained successfully over Seth Rollins.
Yeah,
and hopefully, Ospreay I understand what he was thinking. I understand where his intent was. But now we know it's Swerve who's going to be taking on the winner of the Owen Hart tournament.
You know what? There's a bit of a ripple, a little after effect of what happened last week. If you caught me on last week's show after Dynamite, I was very upset that Jeff Jarrett lost, in the way he did in the opening round. When you're building all this story, making it like the stakes for Owen Hart, his relationship with Owen, like if you want that to happen, my case was if you want Jeff to lose viciously to Hangman Page, make it happen in the finals. Make it happen after the first round. And we didn't get either of that. He lost. Just boom. And so,
yeah, but the problem with that would have been, I understand where you're coming from.
okay.
The idea was to invoke the Owen connection with Jarrett and create that temporary babyface sympathies for Jeff, with the idea that whoever he goes against going to get massive heel heat coming off of it. And as soon as they announced it was a mystery opponent, you immediately knew whoever that mystery opponent was going to benefit from the nuclear heat of taking away Jarrett's opportunity. Nobody thought we were getting Jeff Jarrett versus Swerve at All In.
No.
Or Jarrett versus Ospreay, whoever it would have been. So if it would have come down to the finals, if tonight it would have been Hangman versus Jarrett, we all know how that's ending.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Bryan has the same sort of sympathetic story going into this match. The idea that he is going to retire next year, and it is very important to him that he wants to get this last great title opportunity, this huge match, this main event in Wembley. So there's a chance for Hangman to crush a second person's dream.
I understand that. Yeah, I do get that. I just think it should have happened later on in the tournament. Like,
they didn't have another round. There's only, I mean, we're at the finals, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of opportunity.
I guess that's fair.
But, now it's, are we going to get Danielson versus Swerve, or are we going to get Hangman versus Swerve? Obviously, you can reignite the Hangman Swerve feud, which is a hell of a lot of fun. But then what do you do with Bryan?
Yes. Well, here's the ripple, though, Robert, is Jeff Jarrett is the special enforcer for this Danielson versus Hangman match. So
why?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Well, then we're going to probably get some more shenanigans.
Yep.
Some more chicanery. Maybe Bryan gets laid out with a guitar by accident. They get a hold of
Or maybe intentionally. I'm kind of thinking, what if Jarrett was so despondent that he lost to Hangman that he's like, I need this guy to win now.
Don't put that out there.
I'm throwing it out.
If we get a Jeff Jarrett, Bryan Danielson match at All In,
yes,
I'm going to go to that third world country of Pennsylvania.
Give it to me.
And I am going to throttle you.
I want it.
That is second only to the Kurt Angle Baron Corbin retirement match.
No,
that's what you're putting out there, man.
That
is what you were floating into the ether.
Danielson Jarrett match of the year. That's what's going to happen if it goes down.
You're a monster.
I am not.
First, you forget to push go live. Then you can't open a bottle. Now this, like, you were on a reign of terror, second to none. Like, since Vince has been gone, since Vince has been exorcised from wrestling, there is not a bigger heel than Dominic D'Angelo.
I'm a booking mastermind. Okay, listen, Tony Khan.
Let's not go that far.
I know you don't think so.
Like, you work with people who think that they're booking masterminds, so I get it.
Well, we also have the other. So, what do you think is going to happen here tonight? Before we move on with that, do you think who do you want to see face Swerve at All In? Do you want to see Hangman? Do you want to see Danielson? Where are you at with that, Robert?
Man, it's tough because if you go with Swerve and Hangman, you have a built-in story.
Yes,
we've seen them wrestle, but we've seen them wrestle to such an extreme degree, like the bleeding in each other's mouths.
Yeah.
Where do you really go? Like, Swerve yelled at Hangman's baby.
You're right. He invaded his home.
We've gone to the nth degree. It's very tough now with Hangman as the heel and Swerve as the babyface to go back into it. I guess part of Tony's thinking is this was the feud that helped establish Swerve. Let's go with it. Let's make these guys our Bret and Shawn. Just let them go, Rock Austin. Let them just tear into each other. It's a personal story, but it's also for the world title. Everything's built in. Everything's baked in. It then becomes Swerve against the EVPs, which is kind of a fun story to tell. And then he really is kind of the Steve Austin going up against the corporation here. On the other hand, Swerve Danielson be a hell of a match. Probably get 13, 14 stars. But unfortunately, as we've seen, Bryan has wrestled major talent. We've seen him wrestle Eddie Kingston. We've seen him wrestle MJF. We've seen him pull these amazing matches out. We've seen with Danny Garcia. And then it doesn't lead to anything. So while it's a great of the moment match, it kind of feels like you got to go with Hangman. And then Bryan's story of, I'm going to be retiring. This was my chance. And now it's gone. What's next for me? Sad piano music as he's walking away, kind of thing.
Yeah, Incredible Hulk stuff. Bill Bixby.
A little Incredible Hulk stuff, but and he does look a little bit like Bill Bixby.
That's a good point. Yeah. You know what though? If you put Danielson in this all-in match, the talk early on has been Danielson being like, I don't want to become the world champion in AEW, things like, and that is counterproductive greatly, I think.
Yeah.
But you're creating that doubt in your mind that he's going to win. Maybe this would be the chance where Danielson goes over on a big spotlight and he becomes that AEW world champion that they need. Like, I think they need him to at least hold the title at least once here before it's all said and done. And so you kind of can create that a little bit more, build a story between that. I'm kind of with your initial thought, though, that I bet you Tony Khan's in the mindset of like, this is the feud that I want to establish, the Hangman versus Swerve. And whatever kind of happens tonight, I think will ultimately, that's what we're going to get it all in, is Hangman and Swerve. I think
it's a fun cheat for him because you don't have to build a story. You already have a story in place. Mm-hmm. And it's a way to take what was a white hot story and merge it into this elite EVP story that has been not white hot.
Yes.
So it's kind of like you're spreading things a little thin. I'm curious to see what winds up ultimately happening, but it's Swerve against the machine, not Brian Cage, but against this, EVP machine. So you do have sort of a compelling story, and I desperately want to see at least someone in the elite pretending like they care about being world champion.
Somebody. We got to find somebody.
Somebody. I get it that Danielson realized I don't need the world title. Again, stop saying this stuff. Yeah. Like, can you imagine on the other channel if you had Roman say like, look, I'm coming back, but like I was world champion for a long time. I don't really care about the world title. Then why are you there?
Yeah.
Let's pretend. Again, it's creative writing. It's narrative structure. It's character and obstacle. Mm-hmm. That was always the big Aaron Sorkin thing. It's like, I don't care what it is. It needs to be desire and obstacle. Mm-hmm. I want to get to Pittsburgh. My obstacle is blank. That's your narrative story. In wrestling, it could not be easier. Unless there's an interpersonal story, it is literally, I want to beat world champion, and that guy has the world title.
Very simple.
That's
Very
it. Simple. What else we got on this Dynamite?
Dynamite. We have the women's.
Sorry, I just noticed that the title was "Is Bret Hart Bitter?" Which made me laugh to no end.
That's the beaten path I want to go off in a little bit. But we have Willow Nightingale versus Mariah May in the Women's Cup finals. Seems like Mariah May is a surefire bet with this, considering all the stuff going on with Toni Storm and being London, everything like that. So do you have any case to make for Willow Nightingale to win this whole thing?
I think Willow Nightingale is incredible. I think she is the women's division Mick Foley.
Yes.
Not just because she's from beautiful Long Island. Not only is she from Long Island, she's from Valley Stream, and that is where I'm from.
Whoa, really?
So yeah, so we're all due respect to MJF, who I know is from Plainview, but Long Island, Strong Island, we're all together in this. There's a sympathetic element to her, and a way in which people want to get behind Willow. That if you put her against Toni Storm in London, that crowd will not support Willow.
You don't think so?
You can't risk it.
Yeah.
No, I think it's too fun of a gimmick. I think it's too. They're going to want to cheer Toni. So putting Toni against Mariah, that is the finish of this story. Let me let me pretend that this has been mapped out for a long time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Willow's been doing great work though. Like her promo stuff.
I love how
really,
sold you were on that.
her promo stuff is great. I've been really happy with how they've been handling her, and like it speaks to the talent they have in the women's division that they need to make the most of. From her to building back Thunder Rosa back up to Toni Storm to Mariah May to oh my gosh, what's the woman that Mercedes just went up against that's kind of a free agent? What is it? Who just
that speaks to the bigger problem of
yes.
AEW.
That's very.
Well, we saw it with Serena Deeb too. It's like they heat up someone in the women's division, they lose, and then they vanish.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you get to Mariah Toni Storm, you don't have a risk of either one of them necessarily vanishing right after.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. We also have a Stampede Street fight. Samoa Joe versus Chris Jericho. This is your match of the night. I know it, Robert.
You know, here's the thing. As much as I want to always bury what Chris Jericho does of this with this learning tree character, Samoa Joe's not going to have a bad match.
No.
And it's a street fight, so it's going to be Samoa Joe and Jericho just beating the hell out of each other. Maybe this will be fine.
I'm excited for it.
Look, I think it's going to be an interesting match. I think it's going to be really stiff. And guys.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Maybe shouldn't go from a Chris Jericho reference to a Blue Chew, but here we are. Our next sponsor needs no introduction. You've seen the ads. You've heard us talk about it a million times. And I bet there's a big part of you, pun intended, that wants to try it out. What am I talking about? Blue Chew. That's right. This isn't your grandpa's blue pill. This is the one, the OG chewable tablet for better sex. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And unlike this week's Dynamite and Raw and Money in the Bank, which is in Canada, Blue Chew is made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door. Guys, if you want her under your learning tree.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. Blue Chew. Blue Chew wants to help the entire country get rock hard. They told me that's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. I don't know what that means, but let's pretend that it means an erection. Till every tent is pitched. That I know means an erection. Till every rod is raised. Again, we're beating this thing just like you will be with Blue Chew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo, in spite of that very clunky copy that they've sent me.
Listen, you polish that up real nice, just like you can with BlueChew.com, promo code Rumor.
No, we are not. We're not. I'm glad that I was away for all the Haktua nonsense.
Oh, listen, I used none of it. None of it, Robert. I had no segues for that.
Hey, segue back in. I want to know what you're segueing back into because now I'm excited. Regular excited, not Blue Chew excited.
We have a Global Glory 4-way match. Claudio Castagnoli.
Stop. What in God's name is the Global Glory Hole?
I have no idea. But that's the name of the match.
Is this another tournament?
I have zero clue. I don't know what the stakes are for this.
That's right. We've moved from the Forbidden Door to the Global Glory Hole.
What
a day here on the Dynamite. But let's assume that this is an important match for an important title, one of the 32 that they have. Who are the combatants in this 4-way?
We have Claudio.
I like it.
Kyle Fletcher.
Great.
We have Pac.
Great.
And we have Ishii. So
Ishii,
Ishii.
great.
So yeah, Robert, I have no idea what the stakes are for this match, why it's called that, but it's there. We got it. Should be fun. Good competitors, but what are we gonna get? You know what I mean?
We're gonna get a good match that ultimately probably doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot, and that's okay. That's kind of the flavor of the week sometimes with some of the Dynamite segments, where you just know you're going to get a fantastic match. I think Kyle Fletcher is a hell of a talent. Claudio is world class. Pac, if he can stay healthy and stay stateside, is fun. And Ishii's also there. Yes, he's talented, but he's not a Dynamite talent. He's not an AEW talent.
No.
And I think that's a continuing problem for AEW to establish a real fan base, a real audience that's going to fully understand what's going on. When you keep throwing guys and gals at us that we don't know who they are, it makes the matches less important. Like Claudio on Collision.
Yeah.
Had a match, and Mike Lawrence, friend of the show, fellow Working Stiff host, that he's fighting the monster from Ernest Scared Stupid. It's pretty much all I know about that guy.
That's all I knew too. I had never heard of the person before. I was like, who? Well, we've heard of Mercedes Moné before, and she's having a double championship victory toast. Didn't she kind of do this last week? Are we getting?
You watched it. You tell me.
Yeah, she kind of did this last week. It was Celebration, and
I like how your voice went high like Jay Leno on that. Like, yeah, have you seen this? Have you heard this? Mercedes Moné. She got two titles, 2 belts. Love it. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So yes, we have her again.
This is what you guys get on a Wednesday.
It is. It is. But so we'll have to see what toast is in mind. If it's peanut butter toast, jam toast, what kind of toast? Champagne toast, perhaps?
You killed it. What else is going on with Mercedes beyond this?
That's all, because we're going to segue into my other Mercedes Moné topic that transitions into my Bret Hart topic. So last week she spoke on Z100 in New York. AEW's TBS champion Mercedes Moné was asked which star she perceives to be more bitter, Bret Hart or Ronda Rousey, and Moné had no hesitation in naming Rousey as the most bitter. From what I've heard, the comments Rousey has made after the fact that she's left WWE, she seems pretty bitter, right?
She doesn't seem happy.
Yes.
Though, in Ronda's defense, she would have ducked that Goldberg kick.
Oh my gosh.
So, look, here's the thing with Bret Hart.
I'm ready to go too. Yeah.
They're in Calgary. I get it. We don't want to bury Bret in that situation. If you're Bret, if you just objectively tell this narrative story of you are one of 72 children, because Stu could not get off Hell, and it's the only way they were able to stay warm, and that's a pre-Blue Chew world. So here's to you, Stu. And you're brought up in the wrestling business, and you were brought up to live and breathe this industry, and you've worked very hard to become the best in that industry, and then you get screwed out of the contract that you were promised. Then you get embarrassed in front of your home crowd. You go to another company who completely misuses you. Your brother tragically dies in ring because he's saddled with a terrible gimmick that if you were there, you know he would not have had to deal with. You then have your career ended by a guy who was reckless in the ring and was careless with you. I can see where you're going to be a little bitter.
Yeah.
You know, Ronda Rousey, a lot of her complaints were a little off the mark. I think there's a couple of things she raised that were absolutely justifiable. Some of the Me Too related comments that she made, especially when she talked about what happened with Drew Gulak and his missed handshake that led to him trying to untie her pants. Nobody should have to be subjected to that sort of behavior. But I think some of Ronda Rousey's just frustration and bitterness was she kind of hates wrestling. She hates wrestling fans. Like, she grew up liking wrestling, but she grew up liking like Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
And I think she came in there and was like, hey, I don't want to ever put myself in a situation where I'm not booked as the strongest, where I'm losing, where I'm putting somebody else over. And yeah, they beat me, but if we really fought, I would beat them. Like, she's kind of got the Osprey thing of saying the stuff you're not supposed to say.
Yeah.
So for Mercedes, yes, she's trying to, obviously she's going to pick Ronda because Ronda's done with wrestling. She ain't coming back. She's made her money. Bret is someone that AEW could always try to lure in.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've heard this, Robert, but I've heard before too that Bret Hart wanted to help backstage with AEW, helping talent, working with talent, and Tony Khan just wanted him as an on-air personality, which Bret just didn't want to do. He wanted to help, and it did not work out. Obviously, wasn't in his game plan. But I think you make a great point with Bret and being bitter. I think I think he gets a lot of flack, somewhat unrightfully so, because I think you look at certain aspects when it comes to people that have suffered a stroke. They happen to go through heavy mood swings, and they happen to be very blunt in what they say sometimes, almost unfiltered when it comes to that stuff. And there's been some moments for Bret that are like that. And so it's like, I think people are kind of putting this impression on Bret that, yeah, he is bitter. And sure, I think that to an extent, he was a main event pro wrestler. To get to that level, you have to have an ego of some sort. And he's one of those guys that has that, and he's talented, and he has a good reputable background of being safe in the ring. And what you made the case, you laid it out for certain things that have that. But then you add that fact that he suffered a stroke, he got a kick to the head, he got all this stuff. I think that's another added element that people really don't factor in when it comes to Bret Hart and what they perceive his attitude to be. Do I think he's as bitter as people think he is? I don't think so. I think more so that's what they see, and so you get that. I think but you get that blunt thing that might have happened that could be a stem from his, stroke and things like that too. I think it's kind of an unfair assessment on Bret.
There's part of it that's that, and then there's part of it with a self-confidence in what he has brought to the wrestling world, that he thinks he is the best.
Sure.
He's not, but he thinks he's the best. He's excellent in the ring. There's other guys who are excellent in the ring. He was never a tremendous promo, but in his mind, he was always the best and the smartest and had the greatest ideas. And when they did that Who Killed WCW documentary, and I saw they were interviewing Bret, I said, I guarantee he's going to say what killed WCW is they didn't push me. And sure enough, well, if they only thought to push me stronger, they don't know that Bischoff and that Russo. They don't know anything about this business, and could have put me in there at the top. Would have had a hell of a match with John Tenta.
Well, I think Eric said it best with that. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Obviously,
no, it was death by one cut, and it was Bischoff signing Hogan to that contract.
Well, that was a big
creative control. That's all you needed. That was what killed the company. That or most favored nations. Kids, if you're negotiating contracts.
Okay, let's hear this, Robert. He's got the lawyer hat on right now.
And a client tries to slip in a most favored nations clause in any way, shape, or form. You never accept that. There, I just saved you 3 years of law school.
There we go. Wow, how about that?
Briefly, because I feel bad that we've now bumped in. This is like an unintentional billion CW. So Ethan Page is now the NXT World Champion. I have a lot of thoughts on that, and we're not going to be able to get to any of those today because we're out of time, and we have to plug all of Dominic D'Angelo's other exciting shows, like his podcast with Rob Van Dam that drops every Monday at 4:20 p.m., rvdtv.com. And then there's Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA and Greg Gagne. Dom steers the conversation a little better than Magnum usually steers, and it is well worth checking out on the Four Horsemen Network. This week, they talk gimmick matches.
No, Road Stories. It's Road
Stories. I thought gimmick matches was the last one. Okay.
Last one. Yep. That's really
again. Do you really want to talk Magnum TA Road Stories?
Jeez, oh man, I'm really setting you up here.
I love Magnum. By the way, I think the world of Magnum, and I worked with Greg Gagne, so I think the world of Magnum. And then we've got Working Stiff with myself, Dan St. Germain, Scott Chaplin, and Mike Lawrence, which drops every Friday, unless it's earlier, unless Dom forgets to push record. We'll be recording tomorrow to talk all things Dynamite and probably some of the Liv Dominic stuff, and then all the wacky things that occur in the world of wrestling. But you already know all the wacky things that occur in wrestling because you tune in every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern to Rumor and Innuendo on a plethora of social media platforms, including the WW Creative _ish X account, the Dominic D'Angelo X account, the SE Scoops X account, the Rumor and Innuendo X account, the Working Stiff X account, and on YouTube, on ad-free shows where hopefully Hangman Page gets his hands on Jeff Jarrett again tonight and ensures that Jarrett never preempts us again. So on behalf of the beloved Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Happy Stampede Day, everybody. The excellence of execution. Robert Karpelis.